Oh, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and we are continuing on with our playthrough of Suzerain Rizia. We are King Romus, the reigning monarch of the Kingdom of Rizia. Last episode, our daughter announced her betrothal to Mana Suzerain of one of the other ruling houses of Rizia. We also completely screwed Lesbia out of their shares of the Mitz gold mine. It's all part of my plan. Hopefully that plan plays out. We are on to the next part of the game. Rizia is the DLC for the game Suzerain. Suzerain is developed and published by fellow Traveler and Porpora Games. Start by reading the news. Millions of Rizians head to the polls. It's election season. We'll see if the monarchists stay in power, which I'm hoping. Doesn't do me as king any good if we have a revolution. Across the country, polling stations have opened as our fellow citizens head to the polls to fulfill their duty and confirm their support for King Romus by electing a new House of Delegates. We congratulate the Electoral Commission for organizing a smooth voting process. RNC leader Daria Durava has already cast her vote among large media attention in Porte Rizian. Results are not expected until later tonight, but Royal Herald editors will work dutifully through the night to provide a comprehensive morning edition full of the latest results. Let's see here. Fort Ailes Naval Base expansion complete. The expansion of the Fort Ailes Naval Base has been completed on schedule. Already several larger vessels of the Rizian Navy have been sighted on their way to their new base, allowing them to operate from a strategically more valuable position. Wonder if I have money for tanks yet. I don't. Not sure how I go about getting that, but border fortifications completed. A notification along the same lines. We've got quite a lot to attend to here. See what that foreign one is. Here we are. Global Media Campaign Proposal. Orchestrating media influence to the world from Kroot. The kingdom faces a strategic opportunity to enhance its global standing through a significant media campaign centered in Constantinum, Kroot, known for being the hub of diplomatic activity and international lobbying. This initiative aims to positively transform Rizia's international perception, leveraging its location amidst the world's embassies and influential lobbies. I'm going to hold off on that for now. I guess I can't hold off on that. Oh. Yeah, I can't do anything until I decide this. We'll go with it. We'll spend it. And then once all that crap disappears, I'm going to sell some energy. Come on, go away. Actually, I should probably hold off on that. Malinvest workers' strike halts the city. Address the workers' strike in Oregano. Public transportation on-time performance downgrade. Uh-oh. Our public transportation system is facing a severe decline in on-time performance, with quality stagnating across rail, land, and sea service. Certain lines have ceased operation due to the organizational challenges, causing inconvenience and dissatisfaction among the populace. -1 on the budget no matter what I do. Our infrastructure will withstand the test of time. We have here Fort Ailes Navy Base and overcrowded public transportation. Alright, that's not good. Let's see what this does here. +1 on the budget per turn. Raise the base income tax. Let's wait until after the election to do that. Right now, let's go talk to the worker. Oh, I guess we're not going to go talk to it. Talk to them. In Argano, workers across all industries have laid down their tools in solidarity, demanding an improvement of working conditions for everyone, regardless of profession or industry. Factory gates remain shut and streets are eerily empty as picket lines set up across town have crippled industry and logistics. Promise better protection for workers. That's a promise to keep the Workers' Protection Decree. I wonder how much that would cost. I am not going to find out if I decide this. Oh, should I allow it? Should I disperse it? I could afford to lose the authority. We'll allow it for now. Let's go see Workers' Protection. Public rail transportation subsidies. I think this is what they were talking about. -3 on the budget, -2 per turn. Strike organized by Malianivist workers has brought the city to a standstill. Now, after authorities seemingly allowed the strike to proceed, its leaders are talking about establishing a proper trade union in the city, modeled after foreign examples. We have over here. Vendum requests expeditionary force in civil war. Confederacy now requests more direct military involvement from its Grace allies. The kingdom must decide whether to escalate its involvement by deploying troops. Sending a full division represents a significant commitment and could decisively tip the scales, but it also risks greater entanglement in the conflict. Alternatively, a volunteer brigade offers support without full-scale intervention. I think we kind of have to do something. We stiffed them on the last time. So we will go with that. We'll go with the volunteer brigade. In response to the ongoing civil war in Vendum, Grace is increasing its support for the monarchist royalist troops. This assistance aligns with the organization's core values of upholding monarchist governance and stabilizing the region. Right. Kingdom of Rizia intervenes in Vendum civil war. Signal of Rizia's commitment to Grace. That's kind of what I had in mind. And back to the other map we go. Guess that's all we got. Meeting of the Royal Council. Mina and I walked into the council chambers. The councilors were already seated and waiting for us. As Titus closed the door behind us, the council members all stood up and bowed in respect. Hope there's nothing too crazy to worry about today. They gave me weirdly uncomfortable looks. We'll talk about that in a bit, Your Majesty. He then turned to Vina and bowed again. Your Highness. Before we begin in earnest, we must acknowledge the results of the recent House of Delegates election. Hugo smiled confidently. As usual, the Rizian National Coalition secured the majority of seats. No significant gains were made, but no losses either. That's good news. By unanimous vote, Daria Durava has retained the position of House Speaker. Made no effort to hide her dismay. Glad to hear that the majority of the Rizian public still respects the authority of their monarch and his supporters. Indeed, Your Majesty. In other news, he gestured at Elena. Miss Werner has some important reports to share about our current energy situation. I'll let her speak. I will start with an overview of our energy situation. We are not producing enough energy to keep up with the demand. If this continues, our industries and the whole of our economy will suffer immensely. The good news is that our current projection for the future is still promising. Based on our current deals and promises, including our projected energy production, we will be able to meet the demand of our industries if our current projects succeed. What is the current projection for our future energy production? At the moment, our energy demands are not being met. And unfortunately, we don't have any ongoing projects or deals that will result in more energy output. Okay. Since there are no active projects, if our current projects succeed, but we don't have any current project, what are you trying to tell me? There is, of course, the disputed Aureus gas field. The predicted gas output from that field is of immense value, but with our current situation, we won't be able to reap much benefit. Is the predicted gas output from Aureus enough to support any energy demands? The entire field is enough to support us for decades to come, but getting the rights to half of that field could also provide us with incredible relief, but we can get into details of that later. I believe Mr. Esquibble has some news from the AN. Do you have any other questions? Do you have any suggestions on how we can improve our energy situation? One suggestion I have is to sign the plans for the Zapana hydroelectric dam. Oh, I see where you're coming from with the dam. I was told early on in the series to build the dam, but I never seem to have the money, because I like to spend the money. Shouldn't have spent the money. It can provide some relief for our energy industry. As a renewable alternative, it can provide a strategic value for us as well. One suggestion I have is to conduct mining surveys to find new resources. This could help our budget and trade. One suggestion I have is to sign the plans for the Havanas coal mine. Apart from that, there is also the Aureus gas field. I believe Mr. Esquibble has some news to share about our energy briefing. Thank you. We also have some news from Mr. Esquibble regarding Palais and the Aureus gas fields. Your Majesty, the results from the AN Arbitration Committee has just come in. The vote's outcome was influenced by a number of nations. Prime Minister Alma Sultana of Morella used her legal background to make a convincing argument on her behalf. Queen Beatrice made a personal appearance at the AN to plead our case. Chancellor Hegel of Vogsland made an especially heartfelt plea to uphold the original interpretation of Andor, without mentioning Rizia by name. Support for Palais came mostly from Lesbia and other ATO nations, of course. In the end, we simply couldn't overcome the clout ATO carries with the AN. Are you fucking serious? Committee agreed with the Palesean argument about the Kelekbees not having the same maritime radius as mainland Rizia, acknowledging their sole ownership of the Aureus gas field. My God. Well, that's bad news. That is really bad news. According to the maritime borders they established, the field falls inside the Palesean EEZ. This is very bad news. Yes, it is. That's bullshit. I'm going to go with that. It is bullshit. I hope so. The AN furthermore ruled the committee members are obliged to enforce the outcome. That's not good. That doesn't leave us any other choice but respect the resolution. No obligation of the AN is binding. None of those countries would risk initiating a direct conflict with us. I don't like this. There's no way we can accept this resolution. No other country can decide on the borders of our kingdom or delegitimizing our claims without a fight. What are you suggesting, Your Grace? I don't think we should recognize this resolution. I say we deploy our navy to Aureus, asserting our claim and blocking Palesean extraction. I don't really think this is necessary. Who asked you? Oh man, I'm mad. I'm actually real world mad about that. We had the law on our side, but come on. Such a move will put us in a very precarious situation. There's no way the international community will approve of this. I agree with the Duchess. We will deploy our navy immediately. Absolutely. Fuck them. Pardon my French. Pardon my Rizian. They looked worried. As much as the gas in Aureus is incredibly valuable for us, I don't see how we can acquire it after the AN resolution against us. We would likely be condemned by the entire international community. They condemn us all they want. The whole field is going to be ours. It's time we take Pele back. Please don't make me repeat myself. Okay. I gotta slow down here and try and calm down and make a actual... Well, our course has kind of already been decided. They can condemn us all they want. Pele is coming back. For the time being, we will deploy our navy to the field and will not let any Palesean ships nearby. If they fire at us, we will declare war. You heard me. We've long waited to reunite with Pele. That time has come. We will prepare to invade them. Well. Okay. We're not going to invade them, but if they shoot at us, game on, I guess. This is where your decisions really have a drastic effect. Oh man. Vina looked at me in shock. It settles it then, a strong response. I believe it's time to wrap this up. Everyone stood up and bowed. Vina and I stood up and left the chamber. Are we really going to go against the Alliance of Nations? I know you're against war, but my intention has been to strike Pele one way or another. I want you to understand this. We only go against injustice. Yes, but don't worry, they can't do anything to us. I'm going to test the tide. Kind of what I am doing, I guess. Won't the AN retaliate? The AN can kiss my ass. Rizia will not be bullied. Rizia is not alone. We'll go with this one. I know, I still don't like the sound of it, but I understand. I just hope it all works out without further conflict. Look, Vina, I know you're against war, but my intention is to strike Pele one way or another. I want you to understand this. I hope the same, believe me, but sometimes our hands are forced. With or without conflict, it will work out in the end. You're going to be the queen of this country one day. I like your compassion, but you need to learn to embrace conflict when it's necessary. That's precisely my point, Father. I don't see us being forced to do anything. Anyway, Father, I didn't mean to question you. Let's just leave the chamber, all right? Walk together to the royal chamber of the palace. Ow. Wow. Ow. Oh. Oh. Message from your sister-in-law. Dear Romus, on behalf of the Kingdom of Rumburg, I would like to extend my official congratulations with your victory in the RNC to your elections. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. This group congratulates Rizia on sexual election. God. Successful elections. Palesean Navy ready to challenge blockade. The Grand Duchy of Palais announced that it's readying its navy to defy the blockade of the Aureus gas field by Rizian ships. Pointed out that according to the AN ruling, the blockade of the gas field is a severe violation of international law, and stated that while it had no intention of expanding the conflict, the Palesean Navy would not hesitate to implement the AN ruling. Damn. Well, let's see what the newspapers have to say about this. Business as usual as RNC confirms popular support. Not much has changed at the House of Delegates election, as the number of delegates for both parties remained exactly the same. Sign up for the King's Army. We at the Royal Herald call upon able-bodied men willing to serve as king and country to enlist at their local recruitment bureau. We got screwed. We got royally screwed. So that's the decision I made. I'm not gonna. I gotta put my foot down. As more and more actors question Rizia's sovereignty, we must do our duty and ensure our country is able to defend itself should the time come. King rejects AN ruling. A recent Alliance of Nations ruling granted full control over the Aureus gas fields to Palais, despite the majority of the field lying within Rizia's maritime boundary. Has caused outrage across the nation, with our king now openly challenging the ruling. In order to keep up the pressure on Palais, our Royal Navy will blockade the gas field in order to prevent Palesean drilling ships from starting operations. World anxious as Rizia amasses troops on Palais border. The entirety of Mercopa and the rest of the world, by extension, is following Rizia's military buildup on the Palais border closely. In recent days, multiple divisions are reported to be on the move, with Rizian airplanes flying dangerously close to Palesean airspace almost daily. Both ATO and CSP have urged Rizia for constraint. Rumberg has defended the Rizian military buildup, highlighting that any country has the right to move troops within its own border as it pleases. Yeah. Gas field belongs to Palais, AN rules. Go ahead and read it. There will be no repair of diplomatic relations between our two countries. And that pisses me off. See what happens now. I was woken up in the middle of the night by the Golden Guard. Due to the sensitivity of the information, I had to be urgently briefed in person. As the king, I knew such a summons could only mean dire news. I put on my clothes and followed Titus through the corridors of the palace. You know what this is about? I was told to come and get you, Your Majesty. I believe there's an important situation that needs your immediate attention. When we arrived at the door of the council chamber, Hugo and Vina greeted me. Apologies for disturbing both of you at this hour. Thank you for being here so quickly. Of course. He tugged on my arm, leaned in, and whispered, Romus, my boy, I'm afraid we'll be facing our biggest crisis yet. I must stress, this is the time everybody needs a calm and resilient leadership. He took a long look at me and my clothes that I'd rushed to put on. Your butler couldn't be summoned in time, I take it. He put his hand on my shoulder. Make sure you're ready. I'm sure you'll do the right thing. Oh boy. You're not making this any easier. I need to know what happened right now. Let's go in. He opened the door for us and entered a scene of barely restrained chaos. The counselors were already gathered inside, their faces etched with lines of worry. Upon my entrance, they all stood up immediately. Lucida approached me with a calm demeanor that contrasted with the anxious atmosphere inside. She bowed and spoke. Your Majesty, we have an emergency to report. About an hour ago, we received grave news, to put it mildly. A very serious incident at sea around the Aureus gas field has unfolded. Big surprise! Big surprise there. May the divine God protect us. Whoops, I wish there was another way to put this. The Grand Duchy of Palesean has committed an act of war. Let's just calm down and start from the beginning. This is what we know so far. Approximately half an hour ago, the ships we sent to enforce our claim to the Aurean gas field fired on and sunk a Palesean vessel. Uh-oh. According to our report, a small fleet of 3 Palesean ships advanced directly at our ships despite repeated warnings. The vessel that was sunk was not only warned, it managed to ram into our flagship, the RRN Valero, damaging it almost beyond repair. Our fleet then acted in retaliation, discharging its weapons at the Paleseans and sinking one of their ships. Their other 2 vessels were immediately surrounded. They are still being kept at the location of the incident. It's an outrage. They were warned, yet they encroached upon the field, knowing that our Navy would defend it. That's true. Our fleet only acted in defense of our nation's asset, but this is still a disaster. The sinking of a ship is a grave matter. What about the casualties? We're still ascertaining the full extent, but preliminary reports suggest multiple injuries aboard the Valero. And theirs? We don't know yet. May St. Ruhek embrace their souls. What's the extent of the damage? Severe, Your Majesty. The impact compromised the hull's integrity, causing significant flooding in the engine room and adjacent compartments. The Valero's propulsion system is heavily damaged, rendering the ship immobile. It is currently running on emergency power, but the flooding is critical. The damage control teams are working tirelessly, but without external assistance, the risk of losing the flagship is very high. We estimate approximately 150 sailors are engaged in containment efforts as we speak. And the Palesean ship that we sank, it sustained catastrophic damage post-collision. Seconds after the collision, it was shot by multiple shots by our frigates. However, there are reasons to believe the collision was enough for it to sink, and our shots may not be the main reason. It's too early to tell. Our initial reports indicate survivors, but they are in perilous waters, Your Majesty. We can't simply let them drown. We have to do something. We need our efforts focused on saving the Valero and our sailors inside. How did this come to pass? Didn't they just tell me? According to the report, around 0400 hours, our naval forces consisting of the flagship RRN Valero, probably should have asked that question first, and 3 frigates were patrolling the field when a Palesean fleet composed of 3 armed vessels approached the disputed zone. Despite repeated warnings, they continued their advance, executing aggressive maneuvers. The vessel that initiated the conflict attempted to bypass our blockade, accelerating towards the RRN Valero. In a reckless act, it rammed our flagship on the starboard side near the engine room. What about the rest of them? The remaining 2, upon seeing their companion's fate, ceased their advance and are currently held at a standoff distance. They're completely surrounded and outgunned. The Admiral is waiting for your orders on how to deal with the situation. Additionally, it is reported that there are survivors from the colliding ship. These are perilous waters, Your Majesty, so we don't know if they'll be able to manage a complete rescue operation without any help arriving. Our fleet is currently fully focused on holding the remaining vessels in place while trying to help the RRN Valero contain flooding. What's the current status of the Palesean sailors? Do you think we can be saved? Your Majesty, the sailors from the capsized vessel are in deep waters. Our frigates are currently occupied with both containing the situation aboard the overly repetitive, kinda. This has unfortunately left us limited resources to mount an effective for immediate rescue operation for the Palesean sailors. We can send a rescue team instead of diverting the resources of our fleet there. What's the distance to the nearest Rizian port for support? Closest port capable of dispatching a rescue team is on the mainland. Under current conditions, it would take several hours for a rescue team to reach the site. The sailors don't have several hours in these waters, Your Grace. We're talking about the open sea, and they're likely without sufficient life-saving equipment. Your Majesty, leaving the Palesean sailors to fend for themselves could be seen as a severe dereliction of maritime duty. It would damage our international standing, and the Duke would paint us as inhumane. This is their game, Counselor Squibble. We can't let them write the rules for us. However, focusing our efforts on the RRN Valero is crucial. It's not only about saving our flagship, which is our most expensive asset in the Navy, but also about preventing further loss of Rizian life. Diverting our frigates to rescue could jeopardize the containment efforts on the Valero, as well as risk the escape of the Palesean vessels. What do you think, Vina? We should divert our efforts to rescue the sailors. Our priority should be human lives, regardless if it's Palesean or Rizian. And if it was indeed their plan to push us into a corner, we shouldn't fall into their trap. We should show the world that Rizia has compassion even when attacked. Wise words, Your Highness. Any last thoughts before I announce my decision? May the Divine grant you strength. House Taurus expects you to use this opportunity. To do what? Let's see what our options are here. We have quite a bit. Our first duty is to our own. Focus all efforts on the RRN Valero. Dispatch a rescue team from the mainland for the Palesean sailors, but our immediate priority is saving the Valero and its crew. We must attempt both rescues, divert our frigates to the aid of the Palesean sailors, as well as to continue to assist the Valero. Send for the mainland rescue team as backup. Release the surrounded Palesean ships, and this... no. Won't let me go down. Oh, here we go. I've heard enough. Pele has provoked us for the last time. We must prepare for war. Dispatch a rescue team from the mainland. Oh. I could do this one, but if we lose our ship, that's a problem. I'm going to put our people first. Understood, Your Majesty. I will let the Admiral know about your orders immediately. The sound approach, Your Majesty. Our flagship represents Rizia's strength. We cannot afford to lose it, nor the ships that attacked us. I agree. It makes sense from a resource management perspective. Of course, the human cost is regrettable. The rescue crew can still make it in time to save everybody. I understand that the safety of our crew must be our paramount concern, but why don't we divert our ships that are already on the scene to help? I agree with Your Highness, Your Majesty. This action may have diplomatic repercussions. I have already made my decision. Is there anything else? I believe that's all. Okay. Unfriendly. Wow. Okay. What's this? Meeting with Duke Reinhardt about the incident. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered across Palesean cities demanding the international community to take action against what is perceived as a Rizian war crime. They attacked me, though. King Romus traveling to Palais. Following the blatant Palesean attacks on Rizian assets, King Romus has decided to travel to Palais, showing Rizia's commitment to international diplomacy. There he is expected to sternly talk to the Grand Duke, making clear Rizia's disapproval of Palesean action. However, should Palais refuse to listen to Rizia's concern and not take up the king's generous offer of peace, Rizia's military stands ready to respond. 3 Palesean vessels attempting to break Rizia's rightful blockade of the Aureus gas field. Okay. Major escalation as Rizia sinks Palesean ship. All of which we just did. Well, I guess there's one thing left for us to do. Go to Rizia. I mean, Palais. Our convoy drove steadily across the cobbled streets of Old Town Palais. It was my second visit to the Palesean capital since becoming king of Rizia, and the atmosphere this time was far more tense. The specter of a recent naval incident cast a long shadow over our relations. I sensed it in the mood of everyone around me. Upon our arrival to Castle Reinhardt, we were greeted by the expressionless face of the Palesean delegation with no sight of the Duke himself. No pleasantries were exchanged, and no diplomatic gestures were played to the cameras. We were instead quickly ushered inside as the reporters were blocked off. Nobody from the security detail nor the welcoming delegation spoke as we entered the room where the meeting was to take place. When Duke Reinhardt entered the room, everyone else left. He didn't speak a word until we were completely alone. King Romus, your rushed arrival here is a testament to the gravity of our situation. I wish I could say your visit today brings me comfort, but under these circumstances, I find it hard to extend a warm greeting. But still, welcome back. Duke Reinhardt. He extended his hand for a handshake. Look, I do not intend to allow Palais to be pushed around by Rizia any longer, so please listen to me very carefully. I'm not going to let you dictate anything. You're going to listen to me now. He looked at me, discomfort and concern etched into his handsome features. We will not recognize the biased and unjustified resolution of the AN. Lesbian and their Western sponsors manipulated the ruling. I've decided to take the entirety of the Aureus gas field, and frankly, I don't think Palais can do anything about it. Let's not start on the wrong foot. I am aware of the incident, and I'm here for peace. Your ships were warned. Not only did they ignore that warning, they rammed into our flagship. Did you give the order yourself? I refuse to even respond to that question, Your Majesty. We are not the side who fired at you. Rizia is directly responsible for sinking our ship and the loss of Palesean lives. So tell me, Your Majesty, what is the stance of your kingdom? What are you trying to achieve here? My decision to blockade the field, but the incident wouldn't have happened if your ship didn't ram into us. It was an accident, Your Grace. Oh. Our stance is clear. Aureus lies inside our borders, and anyone who enters that territory is subject to Rizian law. Are not going to accept any responsibility? Is this Rizia's official stance, then? We will not accept responsibility for retaliating for your attack against our flagship. Palais is the one that escalated the incident. Then I have nothing else to say except this. His face darkened. Either you will listen to our demands and back off from Aureus completely, or what? Let's not imagine that scenario. He straightened his back. First of all, you will release our ships and our sailors immediately, and you will pay reparations for the ship you sank as well as the sailors who lost their lives. Needless to say, your navy will never be deployed back to Aureus again. To ensure that, you will sign an official concession acknowledging the AN arbitration results and Pale's full ownership of the gas field. Absolutely not. I see. Then you won't be surprised to hear that the Palesean Navy has been deployed to the Aureus. We will not bow down against your aggression any longer. Rizia will have no access whatsoever to any energy from the Antecean Sea. That would be a cause for war. You cannot afford to keep your navy at the field at all times. You intended to escalate the situation further after all. I will let the world know about your stance. Let's see who they support. You seem confident despite Rizia's clear breach of international law. If you really think anyone will support Rizia, you're living in a land of fantasy, Your Majesty. If you try to block our access, we will take it by force. You will not get away with this. As I already said, it's not a matter of if anymore. Our navy should be arriving as we speak. Pale is ready to defend what is ours. And that's Warrior Grace? Sudden spasm of fear took hold of his face. I see. You are making the same mistake as your father, it seems. You will be responsible for all the lives that will be lost. He quickly got up and gestured at the door. You are no longer welcome here. We will meet again. I walked through the hall with quick steps, imagined images of war and horror appearing in my head. Morento was waiting for me outside with a concerned look on his face. I tried to tell him what happened with as few words as possible. Okay, so as you could probably tell, things here are coming to a head, and I have no more time left, and I think this is probably a good place to break. So that is what we are going to do. I think we're going to be in a war very, very soon. If you like this episode, hit the like button. If you have any thoughts, tips, or advice, leave those in the comment section below. If you want to follow along and see how this plays out, hit the subscribe. And we'll see you for the next episode. J76NY saying thank you very much for watching. And have yourself a very good day.